it's not like Africans are just, so happy. They are wishing that France fall totally. There is no sane human being with a soul that would want to see another human being suffer and lose it. No, no. So we are not interested in that. But there's one thing with this life: whatever action you put out there has a reaction. Whatever good you do has something that follows it. Whatever bad you do, be it to an individual or community, has something that follows it. And I think France is just, getting what is due to them. They are getting what is due to them. Now, seeing how they have milk destroyed, pillaged, the continent, is just normal for any African to have a sign of relief seeing the situation that they are in. Remember, I've said it before, that there's no sane human being that will see a fellow human being suffer and be happy. But the continent have suffered so much. And to see that Mother Earth, to see that nature, to see that nemesis have their own way of dealing with situation, is just a joy that we have.
We've got some breaking news out of France, which we need to get to straight away.
Yes, the French Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu has resigned. This news just breaking across the terminal now. The euro dropping 0.5% to 1.16 per dollar. They had just named the new cabinet, pretty much similar to what we have seen before. We had seen the disappointment in these markets off the back of that, the difficulties faced to reach a budget consensus, yet again seeming to rear their heads with Lecornu. And here we have the downfall of another French Prime Minister this morning.
That's fast. Even by French standards, this is now getting the rate of change, the half-life of this process. The acceleration is extraordinary now. So the CAC 40 is now down by 1.75% and dropping rapidly. You are obviously seeing French banks getting hit and hit hard this morning. We are watching to see what will happen next. It is unclear at this point what the catalyst was. Is it a conversation within the government, or is it basically a realisation that actually this new cabinet is not a sustainable force, and therefore actually we are likely to see this government falling at some point? Maybe he has decided, the early indications are from the socialists and the far right, that this is not something that is going to be sustainable, and as a result of which he's gone early.
A question regarding defense and security.
Good evening, Your Excellency.
Good evening.
Some of your critics regularly bring up a statement you made, and this statement dates back to the very beginning of your time in power, when you said that if everything was put in place, 3 months would be enough to move towards ending the war. These critics now say that 3 years later, the war is still not completely over. Mr. President, how do you respond to this tonight?
All right, thank you very much, and thank you all for coming to this interview. It's true, that's what we would have wished for, but things did not go as expected, and I said if everything was put in place. So, there are several approaches to implement in order to achieve this goal within the given time frame, but not everything was carried out as we had hoped. First, adversity. So, as soon as we came to power, we had hoped that we would be allowed to work quickly and make progress. Unfortunately, some people approached us and wanted us to go along with their agenda because their goal was not for the war to end so soon. I'm talking about certain foreign forces that were present on our soil. We had heated debates with diplomats from elsewhere on the matter, but no one wanted us to move toward ending this war. We understood this through their message. If people come to us and tell us that we have to accept that they support the terrorists while also supporting us, it means exactly what it sounds like. This is a war being deliberately maintained. So we quickly understood and got rid of all the forces that were present here, whether they were French forces, American forces, and we realized that the struggle would be tough. The second thing was also that we believed we at least had a minimum stock of weapons and ammunition. Today, I can tell you what I actually found in stock, for example. There was, for all of Burkina, less than 100,000 Kalashnikov rounds, and as for weapons, we barely had 100. How were we supposed to wage a war? We had to re-equip ourselves, reinforce the army in terms of personnel, weaponry, and everything else. That's why the 3-month objective, if this prerequisite had been met, would have been entirely possible, but there was nothing. We were not prepared for war, neither in terms of equipment nor in terms of manpower.
Precisely, Mr. President. As you just said, when you took power, if we want to put it bluntly, there were more men than ammunition in the Burkinabe army. And today, where do we stand with the armament program for that army? And what are the signs that it is gradually gaining strength?
Very well. As I said, I can't fully describe the situation as it was. It was catastrophic. And as I mentioned, you might be concerned. There may even be soldiers in this room who were on the front lines without weapons. That actually happened in our army. So these are situations where you might think it was just, I wouldn't say bad faith, but rather an incomprehensible situation. For us, the weapons were there, but they refused to equip us. But when we were confronted with reality, we quickly decided to first focus on arming the personnel who were present. And that's when it became the Banner Korea. Because many powerful countries refused to supply us with weapons. So we turned to those who were willing to supply us with weapons. Very quickly, we equipped ourselves, we recruited the VDP, and we were able to pay for everything we needed. We developed an equipment plan for a build-up in strength. And as you can see, for the past 2 years now, the equipment has started to arrive. It's still not over. And more keeps coming in. Maybe in a few days, you'll see even more new equipment being presented, which is mainly support equipment. Because first, the infantry had to be equipped so that every man could be issued a weapon. That was a big challenge. We've achieved it. We're still recruiting, as you can see. Every year, between 10,000 and 15,000 men have been recruited. That was a considerable effort. Because no matter what anyone says, adversity is there. The number of terrorists is increasing because the imperialists are recruiting many mercenaries who come to Burkina Faso to fight. So we have to adapt to the situation. And now we've entered our third phase, which is no longer about buying, but about manufacturing ourselves. And we're also involved in that now. So that's what building up our strength means. It's important to equip ourselves properly, but also to create a defense industry. That's very important.
In a few months, or maybe a few years, our soldiers here will be using weapons made in Burkina.
Of course. We have the intellectual capacity. There are resources here, you just have to look for them. And that's it. We're right here at home. You'll see, you'll be recognized around the world.
Mr. President, in your opinion, can we win this war at this point in time? Are we going to win this war?
We can only win it. What else would we do? Rest assured, we're not going anywhere and we will win this war. I've told you, the threat keeps changing, but we are adapting. And the strength of the Burkinabe army was that it was one of the most resilient armies in the world. The pressure that Burkina faces, I don't think there's another country on this earth that faces such pressure. But we are holding on. We are fighting, and we are constantly adapting to the threat. And we understand where the threat is coming from. It's starting to show. That's the most important thing. And right now, I can assure you that soon we'll be talking about a black albino who will appear, and you'll see. Don't ask me what that means. I think you'll understand later. The war will end, and very soon.
Precisely, to achieve victory in this war, you could say you need the necessary weapons, and you also need capable men, especially men with determination. As you know, that's the major game changer. That's what makes the difference in any war right now, at least as we speak. So what exactly is the morale of our troops on the ground?
You've really gotten to the heart of the problem. Human resources, determined men. It's not just about buying equipment, you need determined men. And if you notice, we are in the process of building a quality army. It's not uncommon that when it's judged that a unit leader or an element has failed their mission, they are dismissed and prosecuted. This has happened several times and it will continue to be that way. If you sign up to be in the military, you must accomplish the mission, because the mission is sacred to us. The other thing is that despite the pressure, despite the challenge, the men keep fighting and they are very resilient. If today you ask a soldier whether he would want others to come fight in his place or come help him, they will never tell you that. They would rather die. It's at this level that you judge their morale. They are ready, always ready despite the situation. No matter what battle we might lose, we will always hold the line. That's what's very important in the mindset of soldiers. So morale is at its peak. People didn't expect to have this level of equipment, but now they do, so they're giving it their all. And I can only congratulate and thank everyone who fought. Very important.
So, Mr. President, in your argument, when you talk about a war that is taking on a different form, that is evolving, we still wonder, we always ask ourselves this question: who is attacking Burkina, in what way?
It's not just terrorism. It's a war to seize our wealth and prevent us from developing. I once explained this in a speech, I think. I said that if we manage to properly exploit our subsoil, to process what we are extracting here, what we are producing, there will be unemployment over there, on their side. It's a battle. They plunder our wealth in order to survive. So it's a war for independence. We must wage this war to be fully independent and to decide on our own development, our own path. So that's what it's about right now.
Mr. President, you just said it. We're talking about security, about the defense of Burkina Faso. Let's talk about your personal security. You just mentioned it a moment ago. The pressure is enormous. It's immense. The danger comes from everywhere. Mr. President, just in 2025, there have been several coup attempts that were foiled. Mr. President, do you ever feel afraid?
Thank you. I think that's the only strength I have. I'm not afraid because I trust all of you. That's the first thing. You have to trust the people because it's the people who entrusted us with this mission, and I trust that they will understand. And that's why we don't hesitate to stand before the people to explain the situation to them and tell them what's going on. That helps maintain a very good relationship. That's the first thing. The second thing, as I said, is that there was a mindset that needed to be developed within our own forces. That's very important. Right now, with this mindset, people understand why they're fighting. If you look back a few years, many officers on the ground didn't know why they were fighting. But if we know why we're fighting, who we're up against, and why there's this pressure, people understand better. And that's why we immediately created the Institute, the higher military school, so that we could train our own soldiers and instill in them exactly what we want. Remember one thing, if you let your forces be trained by other powers, they will put into their heads whatever they want. They indoctrinate them as they please, and it's easier to manipulate them. Here in Burkina, that's actually what bothers many imperialist powers. They can't manage to infiltrate our army. All these units that have been created, all these men who are here, no one came from elsewhere to train them. We are built on our own field experience, and we trained them ourselves. I personally took part in training some of the forces at the very beginning, so that's already a second strength. Another strength is that if you have a mission and a goal for your country, you must not be afraid. If you're afraid, you hesitate. If you hesitate, you compromise. Once compromise sets in, you're done for.
Just now, you listed a number of factors that make you feel reassured. I insist because history matters too. It's history that guides us. The forces of the imperialists are real. In 1961, they were behind the downfall of Patrice Lumumba in the DRC. In 1972, they brought about the downfall of Kwame Nkrumah in another way. And then in 1987, they orchestrated the downfall of Thomas Sankara, again with internal enemies and sometimes with the complicity of certain neighbors. You know what they say, Mr. President? The first duty of a revolutionary is to stay alive in order to continue the struggle. Mr. President, can you reassure all these people, all these men and women here and elsewhere who are beginning to hope that you will stay alive?
They are always manipulating things from within. We are very much aware of that. And also, our second duty is to take part in our own security. Today is not the day to say that I am escaping from the state. So I don't just entrust security to others. Everyone is involved, and I myself take part. That's why I say it's not just a matter for those who are by my side, it's a matter for all the people. And security is not just a matter for those in uniform or for those who have the energy. It's a collective effort. It's also about behaviors, about ways of living. We need to avoid many things, perhaps mistakes that were made in the past. We have read a lot about all those involved in imperialism. At Hulapu, we learned many lessons. That's why we say we won't let things repeat themselves. We will anticipate. Even if people interpret it however they want, we will anticipate. But because we have understood the message, the hope that exists, we will do everything to always anticipate the actions of imperialism.
Mr. President, from the perspective of the journalist that I am, I feel that there is an encirclement of the IUS countries. When I look at the daily news, there is a foreign military camp near Mali and Burkina. Senegal is setting up units at the border with Mali, not to mention Benin as well, which borders Burkina and Niger. Mr. President, do you personally share this particular point of view? Do you see things this way?
I think that when you decide to make a revolution, you have to prepare yourself for this kind of adversity. It's only logical that they are encircling us. It's only logical that they're trying to bring us down. It's logical. As I said, it's a battle. They're fighting for their own interests. And it's up to us, if we've decided to make a revolution, to start everything anew so that this encirclement can be overcome. You see, in Africa, we're used to not having a strong army to begin with. There is no state if there isn't a strong army. But, well, that was the system. As I once told the others, they came to flatter us. No, you shouldn't arm yourselves. Even recently, I think there was an American general in an interview who said it again, that our countries don't need to be militarized. That's their way of thinking. We're like children. They're the ones who have to come and sit down to provide security for us. And many countries are in this situation. They don't build armies, and when a crisis comes, it's chaos. We, on the other hand, are building a strong army. That's why I say, we fight as Burkinabe, and we train as Burkinabe. That's very important. What was it like before? Every time, foreign forces, everyone would come to train your soldiers. They treated you like people who were worth nothing. Today, many foreign forces are looking to come and train with us. You wouldn't believe it. The greatest powers are seeking to come and train with our soldiers. But it's not just about training. They want to learn how we do things, how we operate, who trains us. But today, no one knows how the commandos are trained, how we train them, how we equip them. Why do we believe that others have to come and train us? They didn't create anything. They just thought things through. We have brains too. So we need a powerful army to face adversity. They will keep surrounding us because there will always be countries like that in Africa, heads of state like that, who will allow it because they have mixed interests. They always betray. They will always agree to let the imperialists come to their countries to attack their own brothers. If you accept the revolution, you have to embrace this concept. This will continue to exist. So we are nothing anymore. We deal with it, but it's up to us to prepare ourselves so that the encirclement becomes meaningless, so that they never manage to achieve their goal. That's all. So we deal with it.
Very recently, the Sister of Yao held a forum of the chiefs of staff of the African armies. Mali and Burkina Faso were not there, but Niger was, so there was a lack of solidarity. You who are at the top of the state, what can you tell us about this?
Well, it's not a lack of solidarity. Remember, it's a confederation. It's not a federation. In some respects, we do a lot of things in any case together. But in the Charter, it is stated that countries can decide on their relationships and what they can do. We can't tell a particular country not to collaborate with another country, no. We're not at that stage yet to begin with. We are currently consolidating the Confederation in many areas: development, defense, and diplomacy.